Hey everyone, Eric Thompson here. Hope that you are doing, oh yeah, I still got a table to hit. Doing well, my friends. Welcome back. E.T.'s film review today. Top 10 film farewells. It's very sad, but very good. Before we get into the top 10, I want to say a couple things in general. One, thank you as always for your support on this channel. I appreciate it if you'd click like down below. It should be, let's see, it should be somewhere over in, let's see if I can watch it. It should be in this region over here. Maybe the like button somewhere over here. And then over here, let's see, it's hard to do it backwards. Over here somewhere, or maybe it's over here, I can't remember. Somewhere over in this region will be a subscribe button, okay? If you're watching on Facebook, then you gotta click, you gotta go into YouTube. If you have a YouTube account, subscribe, like the video, I'd appreciate it. Okay, thank you to those who've been supporting me in this recent transition phase of life. I'd like to say a couple things about that transition really quickly. About a month ago, I came here to Georgetown, Kentucky, where I am now for the first time for Tori, my fiance's graduation. Vegas, are you here in Kentucky? Do we have a graduation picture we can show? That's enough. Thank you. So there we go. I was really here for the graduation. It was very exciting. That's Tori and her sister Emma there. And so while I was here, I was approached, I met a friend of Tori's, Mary Lou, who told me that at the church where she worships, St. Francis and John Catholic Church, they had an open liturgy music position. And I thought, interesting, kind of whatever. I was working in Illinois still. I didn't give it too much credence, but I thought, you know, what can it hurt? You never know what the Lord is going to do, what the Holy Spirit's going to do. I said, sure. I sent her the job description. So a week later, she sent it to me. And I said, you know, I think I'll apply. I was starting to feel at Holy Apostles like things were going terribly well. And so I thought, you know, I'm just going to look ahead. I'm going to look forward and see what other options there are, okay? So I sent my application in, my resume and everything. And not long after, I got a call back from the priest, Father Lynn, and he wanted me to come down and interview. Now, not even a week later, after he called and asked me to come down to interview and kind of audition for the position, was I laid off at my job at the Church of Holy Apostles. Now, I want to be really clear on this because I'm sure that there are some rumors running around about this. I was not fired. I did not do anything wrong. I did not steal microphones or set fires anywhere that anyone saw. But I was laid off, okay? The general consensus was that I wasn't a good fit for the parish. And I can agree to that to some degree, but of course you never want to hear that you're not a good fit or that you're, to quote Tom Hanks from the Terminal, unacceptable. Okay, so anyway, laid off, but look what's happening at the same time. I'm going down that next weekend to Georgetown to interview for this position, and thanks be to God, I got the job, and I moved here on Tuesday. This is Sunday, July 1st. I moved here on Tuesday, and on Friday, I moved into this home. I live now in a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom home in a subdivision that's right in Georgetown. I'm only about 5 minutes away from work, 4 minutes away from college, so about 3.5 minutes away from Lock and Key, a wonderful coffee location, okay? 2 minutes away from Thai Garden restaurant, and so on. So forth. It's wonderful to be here in Kentucky. I've never lived in the South before. Of course, Kentucky is sort of the north of the South, they say. Although it has been hot, I'm about your neck of the woods, as our worker would say. But it's been very hot. It was 104 yesterday. I think it topped out at 103, 104. It's 102 the day before, and right now outside it is, what's the phone say? 96 degrees, and it's still got a little ways to go. So it's warm. I'm glad to have a fan here, my AC on, which I'm trying to be responsible with, and not to run into the ground. So praise God for that. It's wonderful. Thank you for your encouragement again. I'm excited to be here. Tori is still in Illinois, and she's looking for work there. Maybe she'll get a job in the area. Who knows? And if so, then she'll move down and she'll work here. Of course, we won't move in together until we're married, but it would be wonderful to have her here because I miss her terribly. I really do. But I can still share with her in this way and with all of you by doing these silly little videos. I did a kind of a walkthrough video for her, just for her, and she enjoyed it. And so let me know if you want to see the house there really is nothing here to show off. I mean, I got a really cool chair and a little table to put the mouse and the keyboard on, and I get some Diet Coke in the fridge, you know. So let me know if you want to see that. It'll be very brief, but just so you can kind of see the digs if you care at all for that. I know you can probably hear there's a bit of an echo in this room. It's because there's almost nothing in this room. There's almost nothing in this house. But thanks to the folks at St. Francis and John for donating to me wonderful furniture. And I sure appreciate it. I would just like a bed so I don't have to sleep on a mattress on the floor. Thank you. But I appreciate your gracious donations so far. All right, guess what? Today, this video is the 50th video on the channel. And last, I'm going to check right now. I'm just going to zip over to YouTube real quick because I'm curious. This channel, my channel, our channel has exactly 2,669 views. Hey everyone, Eric Thompson here. Hope that you are doing very well. I'm doing good on this Good Friday. Good Friday. Yeah, excuse me. But we're at 2,669 views, so we're closing in on 3,000 views. Now, this does not mean a lot in the YouTube world. I mean, there are channels out there with 2 billion views, but it's kind of fun to think that, you know, people clicked over here 3,000 times to watch these videos. So please let me know if there's anything special that you would like to see insofar as videos go. A special top 10. You want to see the church where I work. You want to see some more music. You want to see more movie stuff, more music stuff. Maybe some theology. Maybe some personal sharing, some witnessing. Let me know, please. I say that, and I really, really hope that you guys will write and say, I like this, but do more of this, okay? I appreciate that. So, again, thank you for the support. I just can't say it enough. I'm so thankful that you guys even take the time to watch these videos, okay? Let's get into it. No time to waste. Top 10 film farewells. This is, of course, in the spirit of my saying farewell to all of my friends and family, really, in McHenry, Illinois. And so, are you ready, Vegas? You got your tissue out? Very cute. Ready? Number 10. Don't let go, Jack. Don't let go. That's right. Titanic. Now, I've talked about this movie enough, but you know the scene is something of legend, both in its dramatic yield, but also in satire. And people are starting to debate all the more. Could Jack and Rose have both fit on that big door? Well, I do not know about buoyancy at all, and so I am not going to pretend to understand these things. But it wouldn't have been much fun if he had lived, because he really wouldn't have had much of a movie in that case. Because she never would have thrown the diamond over the ship at the end, and they would have lived happily ever after, and then you could have called it Titanic, the Disney adventure. So it had to be there, very dramatic. He's making promises he knows that he can't keep. Trying to encourage her, you know, you're going to die an old lady in your bed and all this. He does not know this. He's dying right then and there in the water. So, very dramatic, okay? Number 10, Titanic. Number 9, one of my favorites. It's a film I've not seen in a while. I'm going to check right now, but I'll check it later. I think it's on Amazon Prime, or it's a video on Netflix. Lost in Translation, okay? I have not really watched a whole lot of Woody Allen, and so I can't say I like or dislike his style, but I like this movie. And especially the great unrequited love tension between Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson's characters in this film. And at the very end of the film, Scarlett is going to stay in, whatever it's called, well, in Tokyo, I guess, or wherever it is in Japan, with her boyfriend, the photographer, and Bill Murray's character is going to go back to America, to his wife and to his, were they building a den or something like that? Or they're picking out color swatches for a kitchen. Anyway, so they find each other in Japan, have this whirlwind, nuts experience, crazy experience, fall in love, although they never consummate their attraction to each other, except for one blissful kiss at the very end. And they say farewell. Back to their misery. They leave, they're torn away from the joy of knowing and loving each other. It's very gripping and beautiful. And it's done in a way where they just sort of disappear into the crowd, you know. We're going to see disappearing into things later on in the top 10 too, I promise. But let's get on. Number 8. You knew he had to be in there somewhere. Tom Hanks, my main man. Castaway, okay? You know what I'm going to say. That's right. Chuck says goodbye to Wilson. I remember seeing this movie in the theater and being somewhat arrested by this scene as Wilson floats away in the ocean, and Chuck knows that he has to choose Wilson or the raft. And Wilson, of course, cannot get him to safety or to salvation, just the raft. And so he chooses to let Wilson go on the tide, just like that. But how heartbreaking. And you really sort of believe it by that point in the film. I mean, you know that this is just drama and that the volleyball is not a real person, but you sort of believe that Tom Hanks really thought of him as another person, as his other companion on the island. And so how painful for him to scream, cry out, Wilson! You remember how it was. And so, here we go. It's loud in here, okay. Number 1, 2, 3. I should number these. I almost like 10, all the way. 10, 9, 8. Number 7. Daryl, are you watching? Are you still watching? Ba-dum, bum, ba-dum. Ba-dum, dum, ba-dum. That's right. T2 Judgment Day. Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Here we have a film. What a movie. It was a 4th of July film, in case you didn't know. 1991. We're coming up on 4th of July right about now. Huge budget. I mean, $100 million budget for an action film, okay? I mean, like, the action film of the 90s, more or less, is here. T2 Judgment Day. And you have all this explosive, high-octane action. And how does it end? With a boy saying goodbye to his robot friend. Well, I mean, it ends with Linda Hamilton's monologue as the road runs by, But indeed, the whole heart of the movie somehow becomes about this boy and his robot protector. What happened? How did we get here? After all this, T-1000 is thrown into the molten steel and all that stuff. And then, lower me into the steel and get into the chopper now. I cannot self-destruct. It's very emotional, okay? Go back and watch this movie and pay attention to how Cameron weaves that plot line underneath this huge canopy of action and explosions and special effects, so that when you actually get to the end of the film, it's like you're left with something real, with a real connection, and not just another big explosion, which the likes of Michael Bay and so forth are so good at doing, okay? But that's, I think, what set James Cameron apart. Certainly his films, we've already mentioned one, show that reality. Speaking of reality, I mean, see one. His films, or T2, shows the reality of friendship, okay? More friendship coming up and much deeper, I promise. Number 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. One of my favorites, not top 20 favorites, but it's a favorite, The Truman Show. This is a tremendous ending. I don't have time to explain the plot to you. Suffice to say that Truman is living in an imaginary world. A world that's been created for him. And he finds out that the whole world is being engineered for his pleasure and the pleasure of others. And he is through with it. And so finally, he reaches the end of this world. And, of course, if you've seen the film, you know what I mean by the end. But he reaches the end of the world. And God, or the producer, confronts him, begs him to stay. But to stay in a lie? And so, Jim Carrey's character, Truman, opts to leave the lie and walks out the door. Tremendous, unbelievable drama in this moment. Overcoming hardship and fear, leaving the life he thought was reality. All that time, never even knowing, never even seeing things the way they were. Trying to think of what. Okay, so that's the drama of that moment, and what makes it such a tremendous farewell, because you have a character essentially just making the whole movie worthless. I mean, in a sense, we see the the drama of how he came to that point, and all the things that he went through, but again, the life he leads. And really, I want to see what happens after. I mean, usually they movie on that, you know, but there's no Truman Show 2, and we should be thankful that there is. I didn't not say that well, I'm sorry, I'm just thinking so quickly. Anyway, okay. Number 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Gone with the Wind. That's right, Gone with the Wind. Frankly, my dear, that's right. Thank you, Your Eminence. That's right. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. 1936. I think it was published on. I just said this to someone that it was. I think the June 29th or June 30th was its anniversary of being published on in 1936. The novel, of course, and the film made sometime later. You remember the dialogue, of course. I'll just read it back to you. Rhett is tired of living the lie like Truman with Scarlett in Atlanta. He wants to get back to the South, you know. And so, as Rhett walks out the door, she pleads with him, Rhett, if you go, where shall I go? What shall I do? Then, of course, he gives the famous line, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn, and walks away into the fog. She sits on her stairs. She sits on the stairs and weeps in despair. What is there that matters? She then recalls all these people, blah, blah, reminds her that her strength comes from Tara itself, the place where she had been earlier in the film, the book. And she says, Tara, home, I'll go home and I'll think of some way to get him back. After all, tomorrow. Yes, thank you. Tomorrow is another day. So, I feel obliged to keep this in because, frankly, my dear, I mean, it's like on the top 5 or 10 well-known movie quotes. Gone with the Wind, of course, itself, an epic piece of literature and film. And so, just out of obligation, okay, let's just keep moving. Let's get on to something really interesting. Michael, are you paying attention? Michael, wake up. I'm with you. I'm with you. Number 4. I'm not even going to say it. Just bring a picture up. Not that one. Not the DVD cover. The picture right from the end of the movie when they have the thing, the hands up. That's it. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Khan! From hell's heart I strike at thee. So, Khan releases the Genesis device. The Enterprise cannot escape without warp drive. The only guy, apparently, who knows how to fix the warp drive is Spock. And, of course, if you've seen the film, you know that the whole engineering crew has been wiped out because of radiation poisoning. Spock, of course, in his Vulcan awesomeness, is resilient and can resist the radiation poisoning. So if he goes down into the engineering level, which you should never go because it's just very dangerous there, and he puts on those little glovey gloves, and he gets into the chamber, and he puts the big cap back on the thing, sealing in the Zim-Dee-Zams, Jim-Jams, whatever it is, and the Enterprise escapes. And then, Kirk calls for him, but he can't answer. Spock doesn't answer, or does he answer, or does whoever. Anyway, and so in any case, Kirk goes down, and Spock is inside the chamber, still radiation everywhere inside the chamber, and they say goodbye. You were always my friend, Jim, and all this stuff. And he puts up the live long and prosper sign against the glass, and then Spock dies. And so this, again, you had a film that did not seem to be about friendship. And then the stake, the center of the film, really ends up being about friendship. And here it is in a very stirring film. Sci-fi nerds and aficionados alike, film aficionados, love this scene. And again, especially for Trekkers who knew a bit about Spock and his his strength and all of that. Spock can never get hurt. You see him bleed occasionally. He can never get hurt. Certainly, he can't die. and then here he is, dead on the ground in the engineering level. Now, if you know the films, of course, things do not end there. They go on, they continue in other movies, but for the moment, a very deep, deep farewell as Spock says goodbye to his friend. And again, you didn't even have the sense, again, in the shows and the films, he didn't even acknowledge that Kirk was his friend. And so here, finally, at the end of his life, he does. Speaking of friends, though, the next two are about friends. I'm going to dedicate number 3 to my sweet Tori. She had suggested this when we were talking about this list before I left. I wanted to film this before I left, and I just didn't get the chance, so I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry, Tori, as well. I really wanted to film it with you. But E.T., okay? Let's don't start with the jokes. You recall the end of the film when E.T. finally makes his phone home to his species, and they count his parents, I guess, I don't know. And they come to Earth, and there's a great, awesome music, you know what I'm talking about. And then he has to say goodbye to Elliot, and off he goes. Home, home is here. I guess that's another reason why, of course, I want to dedicate this number 3 to my darling fiancée, because she is not in our home yet, but she's here in the home of my heart. Well, stop. That's enough. That's all. I get it. I know you don't want this. Is not for that. I understand. I'm just feeling a little emotionally raw, okay? I just want to communicate my... Okay, number 2. Michael, wake up. I know you were out. Come back. Toy Story 3. Gosh darn it. If I didn't cry like a little baby that stubbed its toe on a rock in the theater, I don't know what was happening. Just could not control myself at the end of the movie when Andy gives his toys to that little girl. I just, oh man. I mean, gosh darn it. Just so emotional. And I mentioned before Randy Newman's score. You've got a friend in me. And then but just in the piano, like so slight. And so, that music, of course, that song was like the heart of the whole trilogy, And so it just plays, 8VA, like just so soft in the film, way above all the drama in the scene. It's just so crushing, that Andy gave up, again, to give up a whole series of movies. But that's such a beautiful way to end the series. Not only that Andy says farewell to his childhood, entering into adulthood, but that the toys are able to say goodbye to Andy and to us as well. Although, of course, the suggestion that Pixar makes is that now the adventures continue with this new young child, this young girl. And so, you could theoretically have Toy Story 4, 5, 6. We won't probably see it, and that's fine. But I hope not, frankly. You can't touch something that beautiful and that sacred. Not sacred, but definitely that beautiful. A farewell from the characters and from the whole production team and from the Toy Story, Pixar, but the Toy Story franchise saying goodbye and thank you, which leads to number 1, a franchise much greater in some respects than Toy Story that said goodbye in a way, it was already determined, and that is the great, many farewells from Return of the King, The Lord of the Rings. Now here, especially in the book, you have chapters and chapters of goodbyes and traveling and scourging of the Shire and all this stuff, okay? And that's fine. But in the film, you kind of have the run-on ending sequences. You remember how it was. Like, you thought the movie was over, and it wasn't, and it was, and it wasn't, and it was, and it wasn't. And you have all of these goodbyes in differing ways, okay? Of course, at the very, very end of the film, the ring is destroyed, and we say goodbye to Gollum, and then we say goodbye to Sauron. These are not like farewells, of course, but you see the end of evil in Middle-earth, or more or less, at least in the East, or in the East, in Mordor, because the East is still very mysterious in the Lord of the Rings books. But, so you see the end of evil, and that's good, pow. And then you see the end of the Third Age, not only with the destruction of Sauron, with the crowning of Aragorn as King of Gondor. And so you see not a farewell, but an entrance of a new life Elrond says goodbye to his daughter when he presents her to Aragorn to be his bride. And then, of course, you have all the bouncing on the bed stuff, with the trolls and the hobbits and the Gimlis and the Zimzams. And then, at the Grey Havens, Frodo and Gandalf say goodbye to Merry, Pippin, and Sam. And this here, and Galadriel and the other guy are there as well. But this is the great farewell, of the book, because it is, as some of you may know, where they're going is, in the Arthurian sense, it's Avalon, okay? But in the Tolkien sense, it is the Undying Lands, okay? Heaven, bottom line. Frodo is sailing to his death. Come sail away, okay? That's really what's happening. Frodo and Gandalf, and Bilbo, of course, excuse me, are all getting on this boat to sail away into the Undying Land, into heaven. And so they say goodbye to those who remain in life on the earth. Now, we do not believe or know really that they sail and they die, like they pass through a curtain and they die or something like that. Just that they remain in the state that they're in, but they go to live forever in the Undying Lands. So there you go. And I think that's probably why Return of the King deserves that #1 spot, because that is the great farewell of life, to leave life behind. And in some of these films, I mean, we started at number 10 with the Titanic, which was a death, okay? And then again, we saw it again in Castaway, in some respects, a death, okay? And Terminator 2, a death, self-termination. Star Trek 2, death. But leaving life into death in a farewell, in a friendly way, as it were. I mean, that's hard to say clearly. I'm sorry, I tripped over my own words here on that. But it is a farewell to friendship. And for me, I think also why, and you saw the emotions of the hobbits as they say goodbye to each other. These brothers, I mean, who had known each other when they were lads, all the way up until, I mean, all the adventures they had gone through, and they were apart for all that time in the movies and the books as well, of course, in the books, and they came back together, not even knowing if they were alive. Remember that when Frodo woke up in Rivendell, he had not seen any of these people except for Sam in a long time. He didn't even know that they were alive. He thought that he had said goodbye to them in Moria, or shortly thereafter, or on the banks of the Anduin there. Anyway, and so, the farewell to friendship, okay? And whether you in your own life, leaving the movie behind, take the shot off. I mean, whether or not you have, left friendships on good terms or bad terms, you know this sensation. You know this, even this grievous sense of having to say farewell to friends. And that's also part of why I chose it for my #1. Because in leaving McHenry, Illinois, in the wonderful 18 months or so I had there, I had to say goodbye to a lot of wonderful friendships. And that was just what had to happen, okay? And it was difficult. And it was sort of like sailing away to the Undying Lands, into a mysterious realm. And it just turned out the mysterious realm was 400 miles away in Georgetown, Kentucky. But farewell, a tremendous element in film, a dramatic element, one that we see time and time again. And so here are my top 10 film farewells, okay? I tried to get through a little quicker this time. The last video with Tori was 40 minutes, and we're just under 30, so I'm glad for that. Thank you for sticking around this long and watching. Here's the whole top 10 there for you to enjoy. Just a quick survey, look back over that. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. Again, I always enjoy hearing about what you guys have to say in the comment section below. And so please post. And again, remember, this is the 50th video, so that's kind of fun. 50th video on my channel, not 50th review video. And we're approaching 3,000 views. And if you can think of something you'd like me to do to kind of celebrate 3,000 views, let me know. Maybe a special top 10, a special video, music video or something like that. Not a music video, but a video of my music. You want to see the church where I work, you want to see the house, you want to let me know, okay? But until then, until we meet again, whether in person or on YouTube, I do wish you the very best. Thank you again for watching. And so, as is fitting, I bid you a very fond farewell.